Hakuna Matata, aloha, buenos dias, and good day. This is your online friend, Activism of Care, and I'm banging down the gavel of social justice for all good people that have been targeted by socialized psychopaths, narcissists, borderlines, and other types of personality disordered lunatics and psychotic manipulators. And I'm here to bring clarity to all of the injustice and corruption that narcopaths and narcissists foment in our town, in our workplace, in our family, everywhere at all levels of the community. What I talk about here are matters of public concern that are routinely trivialized and even ridiculed and mocked by enablers of the system of oppression. And one of the most flagrant and most uh, poorly researched is gang stalking. It's a growing or developing problem in our culture. We have on one side of our culture we have the justice system. We've got courts and appellate courts, and we've got law enforcement that we believe are honest and well trained and supervised by ethical people. And we want to believe that our leaders in our government and in our corporations are honest, good people. So, but to a degree, yes, they are. But also to a degree, the workplaces we work at, the government, which is everywhere. There's local government, state government, federal. There's so many layers of government, and we interact with the government on a regular basis. And there's law enforcement, and so to a degree, our country and our towns are kept very safe. But at the same time, there is this sly, secretive program known as gang stalking, and I've been as I think more about my personal situations with gang stalking, and as I do more research into it, I learn more about what the gang stalker, gaslighters, manipulators, narcissists, whatever you want to call them. In my own life, they have reported that that the federal government created a portal or an online dossier or an online database on me, and that I'm under like a government threat assessment program. So everybody who's involved in and profiling me and monitoring my behaviors and sneaking around and doing playing good cop bad cop and engaging in entrapment and being agents provocateurs or confidential informants for the federal government. They either are going to report to me that that's what's going on, so that I'm really aware that I'm being stalked by the government. The government uses the citizens as snitches, as confidential informants, and they abuse that type of program and use it against targeted individuals or targeted citizens. So it makes you wonder, how did you get on that list? How did you get on that secret watch list? And why are you being treated like a terrorist? It is really, really frightening and bizarre. And just like, and I want to also tie this in with cults. There's a book by Stephen Hassan called Combating Cult Mind Control that has all the ins and outs of how to manipulate people's mind and behaviors by using groups of people, by using communities of people. That's what the book Combating Cult Mind Control, by a legitimate counselor, by a legitimate survivor of cult mind control, Stephen Hassan, or Stephen Hassan, depending on how you want to pronounce his last name, So you can find his YouTube videos. He's got a website, Freedom of Mind, and he's got the book Combating Cult Mind Control. Now, if you think outside of the box, outside of the traditional cult, we think of like like Charlie Manson cult or Jim Jones. But if you think about how could those manipulative tactics be used by anybody else that's power hungry, that's starved for power, starved for controlling other people. So then there's the research that Dr. Robert J. Lifton did many decades ago on totalitarianism or communism, and how those types of countries brainwash their citizens, and so that's something that you should think about if you believe that you're a victim of gang stalking, and wondering what is behind it. What is behind it? Why is it happening to you? And what is the point of it? So like I said, Dr. Robert J. Lifton, I think, uncovered or really, did a great job researching on what is behind, control within, totalitarian type of countries in his book Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism. So the 8 criteria for thought reform, according to Robert J. Lifton, is milieu control. This involves the control of information and communication both within the environment and ultimately within the individual, resulting in a significant degree of isolation from society at large. 2 is mystical manipulation, the manipulation of experiences that appears spontaneous but is in fact planned and orchestrated by the group or its leaders in order to demonstrate divine authority, spiritual advancement, or some exceptional talent or insight that sets the leader and or group apart from humanity and that allows reinterpretation of historical events, scripture, and or other experiences. Coincidences and happenstance oddities are interpreted as omens or prophecies. Demand for purity, the world is viewed as black and white, and the members are constantly exhorted to conform to the ideology of the group and strive for perfection. The induction of guilt and or shame is a powerful control device used here. Confession, sins as defined by the group are to be confessed either to a personal monitor or publicly to the group. There is no confidentiality. Members' sins, attitudes, and faults are discussed and exploited by the leaders. Sacred science, the group's doctrine or ideology, is considered to be the ultimate truth. Beyond all questioning or dispute, truth is not to be found outside the group. The leader, as the spokesperson for God or for all humanity, is likewise above criticism. Loading the language, the group interprets or uses words and phrases in new ways so that often the outside world does not understand. This jargon consists of thought-terminating cliches which serve to alter members' thought processes to conform to the group's way of thinking. Doctrine over person. Members' personal experiences are subordinated to the sacred science, and any contrary experiences must be denied or reinterpreted to fit the ideology of the group. And last is dispensing of existence. The group has the prerogative to decide who has the right to exist and who does not. This is usually not literal, but means that those in the outside world are not saved. Unenlightened, unconscious, and they must be converted to the group's ideology. If they do not join the group or are critical of the group, then they must be rejected by the members. Thus, the outside world loses all credibility. In conjunction, should any member leave the group, he or she must be rejected also. And once again, that's from Dr. Robert J. Lifton's research on brainwashing, abnormal psychology, mind control, totalitarianism, as he did a lot of real life research on it. Um, Dr. Robert J. Lifton identified the tactics used by Chinese communists to cause drastic shifts in one's opinions and personality and brainwash American soldiers into making demonstrably false assertions. So you've got that there, Dr. Robert J. Lifton's amazing research. Now, that thought reform is actually being used against the American citizens. And so, like I was saying about at the beginning of my video, well, how do you get on these watch lists where you're being treated like a terrorist or a pedophile or anything like that? Well, the federal government and probably the state and probably the local government has confidential informants. So that could be people that you grew up with, that you went to high school with, like in my case, or people you go to work with. There's confidential informants there, and you work or you have grown habituated or acclimated to being around such people, like friends from high school, college, maybe it's teachers, professors, bosses at work, co-workers. You get acclimated to being around them and seeing them only as co-worker or as teacher or friend or family member, but they could be confidential informants. So, if depending on where you live, if there is like this type of program that an authority figure that works for the federal government or the sheriff's department, depending on how corrupt they are, if your name gets given by one of those confidential informants to a corrupt leader in law enforcement, or maybe they're part of the U.S. Attorney's Office or any other area of the Department of Justice, and that confidential informant that knows you, but you don't know a lot about them, you don't know that they're, confidential informants, they're sort of like double agents. And think of it like that our country or the community you live in, primarily talking about the United States, there could be, you should see these people as double agents, okay? Because we get acclimated to just seeing them as, oh, that's our coworker. But that coworker turns out to be, you find out several months later, turns out to be, maybe a confidential informant, or you hear through the grapevine, oh, stay away from that coworker. That person has, affiliations with the federal government or the Department of Justice. And, if you hear rumors or you hear people whispering in your ear telling you to stay away from a certain person, then it's probably a good idea to not communicate or tell that individual a lot of information. However, a snitch culture is, it could already be happening, where they're snitching and profiling you and giving, assessing to see if you're a good targeted individual. The government doesn't want people that are, empowered or smart, or, there still are bigoted, psychopathic, racist, narcissistic people that work in government, and they abuse their power, and they use these threat assessment programs covertly and secretively against minorities like gay people, Hispanic people, Native Americans, black people, outspoken, opinionated people, very intelligent people, very individualistic types of people. Whatever the confidential informant is, they're looking around, sniffing around to see whose name they can give to the corrupt leader. So there are little areas of the Department of Justice or the Sheriff's Department that are operated by corrupt leaders. So it's not entirely corrupt, but a lot of these programs are done under secrecy. So there's, of course, like I already recommended the author, Dr. Robert J. Lifton, but more specifically to the actual United States, such issues like that, you can go on Amazon and look up the author John W. Whitehead, who is an attorney and author who has written, debated, practiced widely in the area of constitutional law and human rights. So John W. Whitehead wrote the classic book Battlefield America and A Government of Wolves. That's by John W. Whitehead. So that's if you actually want to show people, you're trying to get them on your side, and you can show them and say, hey, look, there's actually a couple of books that I wanted to share with you. One is called Battlefield America, The War on the American People by John W. Whitehead, and his other book, A Government of Wolves. So you can go ahead and show people that are willing to listen to you. Of course, people that are willing to listen to you. You can show them, hey, look, there's books written about this, and you can go on Amazon.com and show some of the people that you're trying to explain or clarify that, hey, look, this is really going on. There's actually an attorney named John W. Whitehead who's written a couple of books on that. So those books are Battlefield America and A Government of Wolves, the emerging American police state. And gang stalking is a police state activity. So what we find hard to understand is that we are possibly interacting with other confidential informants or other people that are involved in snitch culture. Like for example, myself. So it makes you feel absolutely, horrified to know that everybody is responsible for, profiling you, documenting your behavior as you are pushed, out of jobs or bullied out of jobs, or mobbed. You're mobbed in nightclubs. You're mobbed in all these harassment campaigns, of course, are staged. So that's what I've experienced. That it seems like a coincidence, but it's not in a lot of cases, and it seems staged. There's a scripted, staged quality to the mobbing or to the good cop, bad cop type of harassment or any of the other type of psychological warfare or gaslighting that is being done against you. So your name can also be given for other reasons, like, it's just out of hatred, it's just out of spite, it's just out of enviousness or jealousy. It's just any of those reasons that where they believe that you would never get any kind of support from the community. They think that you're an easy target to just kind of kill off, like you're just somebody that can just be crushed like a cockroach. That's what they think in their mind. So whoever gives your name to the authority in the government to put you on this gang stalking program, the confidential informants who have snitched on you and turned on you, of course, are psychopaths as well. They're enablers, they're narcissists, they have no conscience, they're probably psychotic as well, and they recruit. When I went to college, there was a confidential informant that I went to high school with, and she told everybody I was part of this gang stalking, that I was a targeted individual. I was part of a gang stalking surveillance program, and everybody, in my college just sort of jumped on the opportunity to profile me, to monitor me, to surveil me, to provoke, to go crazy on me, to bully, to harass, This is how people are, this is how targeted individuals are run out of town. They're run out of town, they're frightened and they leave town. They never come back to town, and maybe, the gang stalking follows them because it's an online portal. It's an online database or an online dossier, and it can be spread from one person to the next. You can just send it to one person, from one person to the next, and basically that's basically how it spreads. Sort of like if somebody created a Facebook page about you, or a private Facebook group about you, and everybody just documented everything they saw about you, your sex life. If they saw you using the restroom, if they saw you, get into an argument, if they saw you yell at somebody, all of that gets documented. If they saw you do drugs, or if you were an alcoholic, all of that gets documented in the gang stalking program, and all of it is used against you. So that's what the gang stalking program is about. The intent is to, of course, drive you out of town, drive you out of work, drive you out of your workplaces, drive you, prevent you from getting new jobs. It's supposed to just dehumanize you in every type of way, ruin your sex life, ruin your romantic life, just ruins the dating scene for you. You are monitored and surveillanced even by your own girlfriends or boyfriends, like I was. And so basically all my sex life is put on these on the online dossier that the federal government is supposedly monitoring. So how do I know this? Because that's what was reported to me. I go from one job to the next job. My prior references would spread this information to my future managers. So if my manager ever got mad with me, she would pull me in to her office with another manager, and they would interrogate me about this type of garbage. And then they would say that it's the federal government that's making them do this, and that they have to do it, and that they have to surveil and monitor and profile me, and that they're supposed to bully me and play good cop, bad cop. So it's actually directions to psychologically abuse in the actual online dossier, the online, you could think of it like an online message board where people are communicating back and forth about how to abuse you, the targeted individual, as they design you ways to psychologically injure you, to scare you, to frighten you, to bother you, to harass you, to insult you. That's what it is. It's a psychological program that the more they collect data on you, what you say, whatever it is that you're doing and saying, the more that they can customize is the better word. Think of it this way: customize the psychological warfare to cause more excruciating pain to you. It's about customizing it so that you're more humiliated, you're more insulted, you're more degraded, you're more hurt and startled and scared. That's the whole intention of the gang stalking program, is so that the more that people collect data on you, the more that it can be sharpened and used as a weapon. It can be customized to be a better weapon to harm you psychologically and in other ways as well. So, of course, they're trying to provoke you into committing a crime, or entrapping you. It's sort of like a sting operation that just keeps going on and on and on. So it really is flagrant, but I really wanted to blow the whistle. I really wanted to be a whistleblower and really just say, hey, look, this is what I've experienced. And there's a lot of people out there that they really don't know that they're a part of this gang stalking program. Okay, but it has to do with, it could be, an experiment that's being done on you by the government, but somebody gave your name to that corrupt authority figure. Somebody gave your name, and then they created the online dossier, online portal where people can log in and look and see, about what everybody is saying about you. And then they customize the gaslighting so that the gaslighting is more excruciating, it's more humiliating, it's more embarrassing, it's more, harmful to you. The harassment is more offensive. That's what they do as they collect more data on you and customize the harassment. And then the directions are given to the anybody who's reading it to further harm you. So a lot of it is called no-touch torture, but some of it probably does escalate to physical abuse and physical harm. So that's something that you've really got to think about. Although they call it no-touch torture, it really still is, it still is a type of torture. It's like Chinese water drop torture, but it can escalate to physical abuse or physical torture as well. So don't think that this is like just totally innocent. It's really not. It really is a type of torture, like Chinese water drop torture. So I've given some good resources as of today. I also want to recommend StopEG.com, StopEG, Stop Electronic Weapons, Stop Gang Stalking. I don't know a lot about electronic weapons exactly, but I just know that these corrupt government agents, corrupt confidential informants, maybe it's InfraGard, these companies, big, small, medium-sized companies, workplaces that you work for, they might be, turned into like an InfraGard type of company. So the company does the gang stalking for the federal government, or the federal government also reaches out to private contractors to create these types of databases, these online databases that they have. So think of the millions and the millions and millions of people that are in the United States. And what the government thinks is that people will be so indifferent and apathetic that if they just choose one targeted individual at a time per town or per city, then nobody will notice or care for the actual life or livelihood of that targeted individual. So scapegoat, the term scapegoating is just a total understatement. It's an understatement to say, oh, this person is being scapegoated. No, it's a deliberate program designed to corrode or decompose a human's life. That's the intention of the program. That's the intention of gang stalking. And if you see this really trending, like you just see this trend going on in your life, from one workplace to the next, one college to the next, or whatever, it is definitely probably has to do with that. So so you really need to pay attention to who could be gang stalking you, who could be a confidential informant. And they say, well, don't think too hard about this because you'll get paranoid. I think you should think about this. I think you should be realistic. I think you should be critical about this. I think you should ask questions to the people around you. I think you should pay attention to all the red flags. If you've listened to my channel for a couple weeks or a couple months already, then you probably should know what the red flags are, or the symptomatology for personality disordered people, for narcissists, borderline, psychopaths. I mean, you need to, if you haven't really, you need to memorize what the symptoms are, what the red flags, what the indicators are for personality disordered people. That's really important. So they're more personality disordered people, or psychotic people are more likely to join forces on a program like that and cause problems in your life. They're more likely to do that fascism or engage in fascist programs against targeted individuals. So you just have to look for the personality. Do they have a conscience? Do they have morals? Are they respectful? Are they respectable? You have to really, really analyze their personality. And that's if you've seen also a trend of being part of a gang stalking program. It's part of a gang stalking program. So a lot of people type it into Google and find out, that they're part of this gang stalking program. So at StopEG.com, so get over there to StopEG.com. Gang stalking equals organized murder. Gang stalking, often accompanied by electronic harassment, electronic torture, is used to cause the physical or mental death of the target. The target is driven insane and commits suicide, collapses into a psychiatric patient, commits a constructed crime, this is called premeditated murder, and the ones participating are murderers. Gang stalking is also called organized stalking, but it is better to call it organized murder. Okay, and that's what it is. So here's a list of some ideas of organized stalking or gang stalking, especially if you see it trending, like going on quite a bit over the years, like neighbor stalking, rude behavior from random people in your neighborhood, or maybe people you know. They could have been recruited by a confidential informant who talked shit about you and said, hey, you're part of this program. We got to monitor this guy. He could be a pedophile. He could be a terrorist. This is for the greatest good of the community. That's the way that they recruit other narcissists. Gang stalking is all about it's just a recruitment program for recruiting narcissists to monitor and profile you. Okay, workplace mobbing is on the list. Breaking friendships, character assassination, rumors spread, feedback about conversations nobody can know, honking horn, you got to be realistic about what is actual, harassment. What is actually being, what is actual stalking. So you look through here and you keep doing research on this. You keep doing research. And you try to come up with your own conclusions about what is realistically gang stalking and what is not. So some of it is absolutely ludicrous and bogus. Some of what I read about gang stalking is ludicrous and bogus. Even on some websites are speculative. They're just guessing, and some people get paranoid and think like a black cat crossing the road is something to be paranoid about. So that's not the case. So you want to make sure not to get like too paranoid. I'm thinking you should be worried if you see this trending, like you're being mobbed or bullied out of a job, and then you go to your next job and you're mobbed and bullied out of there, or you encounter other types of bullying or other types of harassment, or maybe people that come up to you and say, hey, look, you're part of this government program and you're supposed to be profiled and you're under surveillance, and we're given immunity. That's what I was told. They came up and told me that the government gave them immunity to profile and to surveil me, and they were like just jumping for joy about this, like, hey, look, we got immunity. You can't do anything about us. If you try to punch us or try to harm us, you're going to go to prison. But we can psychologically abuse and harass you all day long and mob you and treat you like garbage. So anyways, that's basically what gang stalking is about. They have directions from some corrupt leader in the that works for the United States Attorney's Office, somewhere in the Department of Justice. There is a program. Okay, and they create an online message board, dossier portal that these gang stalkers log into, and there is where they collect your information. That's where they report information about you, personal, confidential information. So in my case, I knew my gang stalkers by first name and last name. They were acquaintances, friends, former co-workers, and they would admit that that's what they do, and that So they also said that they were never going to admit to it to anybody else, that they're supposed to keep quiet about it, but they're supposed to rub it in my face. So that's something that those idiots, those psychos, those narcissists, that's something that they do. So I just wanted everybody to know about the ins and outs of gang stalking from my experience. Other people claim to not know they're gang stalkers. Um, and really, really, it's abuse by proxy. Somebody you know or acquaintances with probably knows those people that are harassing you. So they have sent out what are called flying monkeys to abuse you and to, rub in your face a bunch of, confidential, private, or personal information that would otherwise be humiliating. You have a right to privacy. But the gang stalkers, they're going to tell all of your private information to as many people that they know, and then they're going to say, oh, here's this person. And you can do anything on the internet. You can put up photographs, you can put up videos of this person, you can put up of the targeted individual. You can, that's basically what they're doing. They probably have audio recordings of you, photographs of you, video recordings of you, as to monitor you and surveil you out in the community. And so that's basically what's going on. So it's really, really horrible. It's really terrible. I've created blogs about this. I've exposed the gang stalkers that I've known by first name and last name. And at least it's public. At least people know about it. At least there's some blogs about it. And I think that's really important to do that. So a lot of people say they don't know who their gang stalkers are. You need to ask more questions and you need to investigate. You need to, really investigate and ask more questions. One of my gang stalkers who I did not know, this was a rare case. I didn't know him, but he came up to me at the grocery store and started harassing me and bullying me. And talking about, private conversations that I had with other people. And he just started he was just, kind of needling and antagonizing me at the grocery store. And then he admitted that he heard about me from the company that I used to work at. So my name apparently was still being talked about there. So that's something that your name gets gossiped about in the most ferocious way. And maybe they're given directions or instructions to go out and harass you or bully you or treat you like garbage. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows the extent of it? There's just so much more to it as they customize the gaslighting. And so it's all these minds of narcissists and psychopaths colluding together to customize the abuse against you. That's what they're doing. Okay, it's all their minds working together. Oh, how can we psychologically torture and torment and customize it and make it more excruciating as the months and the years go by? That's what gang stalking is about. That's what the program is about, okay? So, but as you do research on the internet, make sure you filter through what seems realistic and what seems totally bogus, because this is crazy. This is very, very crazy. Some of it is very realistic, and that's why I recommended legitimate authors like John W. Whitehead and Dr. Robert J. Lifton and Stephen Hassan and defense attorney Jerry Spence has written some very good books as well. So that's why I have recommended legitimate authors. I like the psychologist Dr. Linda Martinez-Louis, and then there's also the classic book People of the Lie by M. Scott Peck. So those are all very good books, legitimate authors. If you want to try to teach people, good people of course, about the targeting that you've been through, you can say, hey, look, there are some books on this, or there are some authors I want to share with you that that have done research on psychopathy, and you can share with them these books. You just show them the names of these books on Amazon.com, or go to YouTube and show them what Sam Vaknin, who is a diagnosed narcissist, show them what Sam Vaknin has said about malignant narcissism and psychopathy. So, anyways, but yeah, it's definitely a recruitment program where as many narcissists, borderlines, people with psychosis, people with all kinds of mental problems are recruited to spy on you, to profile you, to monitor you, to then customize the gaslighting so it's more humiliating, so it's more degrading for you, so it's more painful for you. So I just wanted to emphasize all of that, okay? But I really believe, if people are doing this to you, then you should really rebuke and use freedom of the press to expose what they have been doing to you. And they might go to other extremes like breaking into your home, trying to murder you. They get addicted to gang stalking. They get addicted to having that immunity that the whatever authority figure gave them, whatever protection. These people are going to have alibis. There's going to be people lying for them and saying, no, this person didn't try to kill you because they were at home with me, or they were here, or they were there. They're going to have alibis. They're going to have liars lie for them. And these psychos and narcissists get addicted to gang stalking because, and they can get away with more and more crime or damage or criminality because they have people that are going to lie for them. They have people that have their back, so to speak. Plus, they have immunity from whatever government authority or any other authorities that are out there. Okay. So they get addicted to it, and they, it's almost like giving the green light for narcissists and psychos to have you murdered or have you killed. It just brings out that bloodlust in the narcissists and the borderlines and the psychopaths that are part of this gang stalking program. As they provoke, as they make you feel hopeless, make you feel like you have no right to live, like you have no constitutional rights, then they profile you and report your responses. They report your distressed responses. They report what you have said. They report everything that you have done in response to their antagonistic, insulting, gaslighting misconduct. And then they report all of that on the online dossier. So when everything's online, everything's on the internet, and it's of course a private, closed off web portal, then you're not, then they're able to just keep track of you. It's just absolutely shocking. And I think that you should do the same to these people as well. So every time you encounter them, like in my case, I knew who my gang stalkers were 80% of the time, first name and last name. And whenever they came up and did anything, any type of gaslighting, any type of manipulation, anything like that, I had decided, maybe too many years too late to put it on the website, that this was my experiences with these psychos or these narcissists or passive aggressives. A lot of what they do is subtle, passive aggressive, psychological warfare. It's done to damage you. It's done to hurt you. It's done to, it's customized gaslighting. It is customized mobbing, like what I've experienced in the workplace, where they customize the mobbing to be more, so it's more humiliating for you. It's more offensive. And then they cover it up by saying, no, we care about you. We're concerned for you. So it's, the only people who talk like that are psychos. and psychotic people, and really fucked up, screwed up people. So anybody that does that to me gets written up on the internet. And it's public information, it's freedom of the press, and I think that if you're experiencing this, why wouldn't you use freedom of the press? Why wouldn't you use your vocabulary to expose and to rebuke and revile the narcissists that have harmed you? So that's something that I really wanted to encourage people to do. So there's another good website, Organized Stalking and Mind Control. So I wanted people to read that. And you can learn a lot there. And like I said, be critical about what you read. Not everything is going to be perfectly, perfectly stated. Some of it is, guesswork or speculative, but it's good to read more from as many resources as possible. So, Organized Stalking, the New Enemy, is one of the articles there at Organized Stalking and Mind Control. And there's another good article that I wanted to recommend, Organized Gang Stalking and Targeted Individuals, the 6 Phases, is a good one. The reason why this is going on as well is because most people are narcissists. They really do not care at all about conversation outside of materialism or team sports, outside of talking about the weather. Most people are not going to really care to discuss anything about the about when somebody's entire civil rights are being exploded. It's like, oh well, you just have to get over it. Oh well, you just have to enjoy, try to make the best of your life. Oh well, just get over it. It's really hard to do that, as you know. But it shows you the callous, cynical lack of empathy from the people in our culture. So there, a lot of people easily are indifferent, especially when you try to talk about this, and you've got to think about it the younger age, like bullycide, when children commit suicide. Think about what type of targeting goes on there. Targeting, do you think that the child, these children, you every now and then you hear about children being bullied to death, and children commit suicide because they have been bullied so much. It's known as bullycide. I'm surprised there hasn't been more books written about this. I'm surprised more psychologists haven't written about this. But think about children. It's very shocking when children kill themselves because they're bullied. And think about it. Do you think that child was put under a government surveillance program? Do you think the child was experiencing community mobbing already, to the point where They, felt like they had no other choice other than to kill themselves. That's something that I wanted to bring out for people to talk about, and to think about, think about that as well. That is the gang stalking be affecting children, because we hear about bullycide, and that is a big problem. Bullycide is certainly an issue. All right, so okay, now go to the article, Organized Gang Stalking and Targeted Individuals, the 6 phases. Okay, so Google that, or I'm going to post it up on my Facebook page, and I'm going to read some of it. Targeted individuals are experiencing a form of experimentation that follows a progression of phases that include selection, surveillance, stalking, defamation, attack, and monitoring. These 6 phases may have some overlap. However, they are distinct enough to separate them into phases. The time spent on each phase may vary from individual to individual and is probably a reflection of the desires of the perpetrator of the experimentation. Again, the description is based upon a compilation of data and counterintelligence gathered from surveillance of a perpetrator group identified in San Antonio, Texas. The group in Texas that was counter-surveilled has been independently identified by 4 unrelated victims from 4 different geographic areas of Texas. And I wanted to say that from my experience, the 6 phases repeats over and over and over again. Surveillance, stalking, defamation, attack, and then monitoring. And then surveillancing again, stalking, defamation, attack, and monitoring. So it just repeats over and over again. Selection of a target may be for a myriad of reasons at the local level. One must remember this technology is not available to the average person. The groups perpetrating this type of experimentation are given access to the technology as covert independent contractors of the government agencies responsible for its development. This research is a continuation of earlier behavioral control operations, which were mostly done through front companies or front groups. The current experimentation is no different. The groups given access to the technology are allowed to choose victims for any reason they deem necessary. The agencies behind the technology are merely interested in collecting the data on its successes or failures. Therefore, as the data is collected at the top from each of the many perpetrator groups, the selection of victims probably appears random. The selection demographics look very different at the local level. While a small number of victims have come forward with convincing evidence of direct harassment from various government agencies, these are mostly whistleblowers employed by the same agencies and comprised the minority. Most victims are everyday people who would be considered common by most standards. Through interviews and questionnaires, we have found some trends among the victim population. To summarize, the selection of targets for inclusion into this experimental protocol may be specific at the local level with some aspect of particular traits that are sought out by the perpetrators. At the agency level, where the data is ultimately compiled, each perpetrator group's inclusion criteria probably average out to give the target population a random appearance. So phase 2 is surveillance. Surveillance of the chosen target closely follows selection. The surveillance phase differs from the stalking phase in that during the surveillance phase, the target is unaware that it is occurring. Once selected, the target is extensively surveilled through multiple means, which includes background check, mail tampering, direct observation, both physically and electronically, probably on the internet as well. Surveillance accomplishes several important goals that are integral to the success of the remainder of the operation. It allows the perpetrator to accurately determine the target's daily living activities. Most importantly, where they live, work, bank, and how they spend their leisure time are quickly assessed. Okay. So what you can do is read the rest of it. There's the stalking part. The methods involved are directly adapted from the COINTELPRO operations ran by the FBI in the 1950s and 60s against groups seen as radical elements. Defamation is also listed there. Attack, monitoring. So, so anyways, that's basically what most of gang stalking was about, or is about, at least from my experiences. And denial is a big part of it. A lot of the people will be, um, a lot of the people stalking you, harassing you, profiling you, antagonizing you, or reporting to you that you're under government surveillance, that you're under an ongoing secret investigation, and that you're a targeted individual. They're going to deny that they ever said or reported that to you later on. If it ever comes up, they're going to lie about it, that they don't know anything about it. So that shows you the fact that they don't have any morals, they don't have a conscience. It shows you that they're not, it shows you that they're evil people. It shows you that they're, very corrupt people, obviously. So, but like I was saying earlier, that we get, us targeted individuals get acclimated to seeing these people as like friends, co-workers, bosses, professors, teachers. That's what we see them as. We really, it's just really hard to see them as people that are potentially profiling you and snitching on you, and reporting your distressed or upset responses to an online dossier. Okay, it's hard to believe that this could be happening, but this is definitely, like I was saying, I want to emphasize, it's a recruitment process as well. The corrupt leader, the authority, the government official, whoever the fuck it is recruiting as many narcissists and psychos to monitor you, and perpetuating a covert secret society of fascism. And that's what it is. It's a secret society of fascism and totalitarianism, with the intent to drive you to suicide, to drive you, into, committing, like a staged, or a constructed crime, like where you're set up or framed. You are bullied out of workplaces. You're bullied out of your family. If your family hears about this, they may not want to have anything to do with you. This is what ends up happening to targeted individuals. At one of my workplaces, I was working at an apartment complex, and they gave me the name and number to a homeless shelter. And so that tells you what their intent was, that they were trying to drive me or force me into a homeless shelter. And I'm like, I'm a college educated guy with, I don't, I'm not like shooting up heroin and smoking crack every day. And, I'm coming into work and trying to help your business out, as a good employee. And they're already, these psychos, these nutcases, these lunatics, these worthless pieces of shit are already, planning on harming you and hurting you, to the point where they fantasize you dying in a homeless shelter or dying under a bridge. That's where they fantasize your demise or your death. It's like, that's how they make life as difficult for you as possible. It really is. It really is very, very difficult for the targeted individuals. But you can also read the definition of gang stalking at Urban Dictionary on Google. That has a really great, a really great definition of gang stalking. But anyways, that's basically what it is nowadays it's easy for really anybody with some type of technological, or any kind of a front group that has technological computer science abilities, can just create an online portal website about you, where you will log in, and you will not you, but the gang stalkers log in and report disinformation, defamation, slander about you, They're given immunity. The government or whoever it is, whatever authorities, whatever leaders in the community give these gang stalkers immunity, meaning that they're not going to report their misconduct or their criminal activity to the police or to a district attorney or to the sheriff or to the federal government. So it's all going to be, hush hush. If you break the law, it's fine. If you slander and harass this guy, or if you conspire against this person's rights, we're going to keep quiet about it. So that's basically what it is. It's also called Zersetzung, and you can research that on Google, Zersetzung. And it's the Stasi's way of eliminating targeted people. So it is really shocking. It really is horrible. But I wanted to let you know exactly the dynamics of why this is going on and how does it seem like everybody is in on it. Well, because there's an online database and all they have to do is share the link with somebody else. Okay, you're not allowed to have that link, okay, but everybody else is allowed to have it as they, add information about you, as they talk about you, as they provoke you, and then, they report that. They report your responses on the dossier, on the online dossier. So that's basically what gang stalking is about. It is absolutely flagrant and shocking, and really, like I said, I've known 80% of my gang stalkers. I had an insane, crazy roommate in Austin, Texas. It was fucking insane. It took me forever to get over that. I mean, it just took forever for me to get over the gaslighting that I experienced living with him. And then gaslighting from other manipulators that I have met that, are big problems. And I exposed them. I really did. So it's important for you to do that as well. And rebuke, revile, criticize, question, challenge, ask a lot of questions, investigate, research, get rid of anybody that doesn't want to listen to you, that doesn't want to validate you, that doesn't want to, empathize. Get rid of those people, kick them out of your life. Unfortunately, there's more narcissists and borderlines in a commode community than there are good Samaritans. So good Samaritans and empaths and good people are rare. So you got to watch out for all those wolves in sheep's clothing pretending to care for you when they really are stabbing you in the back, setting you up for failure, setting you up for crime, setting you up to be sued, setting you up for vexatious litigation, setting you up for suicide, for death, just damaging your psyche, causing you endless mental anguish to the point where you just develop such severe PTSD, to the point where, a lot of these targeted individuals, I wouldn't be surprised, but they probably feel like dying or committing suicide, and they probably feel like they have no point or no reason to live. And that's the intent of gang stalking. It's a conspiracy against rights. If the government or the Department of Justice is operating this program, then it's a deprivation of rights under color of law. I just want you to be aware of all this terminology. Okay? So hopefully you feel more empowered as you listen to my video. I'm a survivor of gang stalking. I'm happy to talk about it in an eloquent way. Whereas, most other people are not going to be clear and concise about gang stalking. I'm going to be as clear and concise and articulate about this as possible, because that's how proper communication is how people learn. It's how people grow and develop and have a better understanding of the ugliness of the covert fascism that is out there. That's the covert fascism that is spreading out there. So if you want to donate to me through GoFundMe, that would be awesome. I really appreciate donations through the GoFundMe.com link. God bless you. Thank you for the donations, and have a lovely day.